And to preserve their independence, we must not let our rulers load us with perpetual debt. This was Thomas Jefferson's words of wisdom hundreds of years ago, warning the people to beware of central bank power, beware of people who can enslave the citizens with debt, because debt will crush a society, with the elites getting rich and the people in debt being enslaved and poor, losing their assets and being transferred to the wealthy. Thomas Jefferson, great words of advice. We are in a week of the European Brexit vote. This is another reinforcement of the facts that the system is coming unhinged. The fundamentals are overwhelming the manipulation, and people are recognizing to a larger degree that the system is fatally flawed, and the people in Britain are very unhappy with the system. A large portion, nearly 50%, according to the polls, are saying that, hey, we want to exit the Eurozone. It's a problem. Britain is a net producer in the European economy. It's the 5th largest economy in the world. And as a producer, it's not receiving the benefits from the European Union that it was promised. In fact, they're importing massive amount of poor people. And they got lots of Muslims being imported into the country, and it's causing problems and chaos in the country. They're not assimilating, and the entitlement system is getting crushed because of the imbalances and the recklessness, because there's no checks and balance with the European Union. They're acting as a whole and not what is best for Britain, and people are tired of it. Of course, there are the talking heads, there are the elites that are in power that are fear-mongering and saying how bad the British exit will be for the European Union, will be for Britain specifically, because they got to scare the people of Britain into staying in the European Union. So it's not about the European Union, it's about how bad things will be for the British people. The recessions that they're going to see, and the rising prices that they're going to feel because the pound, what's going to happen with the pound, and national security, and they'll have less allies. And you know what? All of this fear-mongering is coming from the UK government, the International Monetary Fund, the Bank of England, the Federal Reserve Chairman Janet Yellen, President Obama, and other world leaders. Even the IMF said that they forecasted that a Brexit would have a negative effect on the UK GDP, with a drop anywhere between 1% and 9% over the long term. And even David Cameron, British Prime Minister, repeated in his message that leaving the EU would jeopardize Britain's economy and national security, with fewer jobs, fewer allies, and higher prices. George Soros, talking head of the Illuminati, man behind funding the Black Lives Matters movement, funding Hillary Clinton, funding President Obama, a man who speaks louder with his actions than he does with his words, but has said that a Brexit, as it is, the EU is on the verge of a collapse because of its handling of the Greek economic crisis and refugee crisis, and said the prospect of a Brexit from the EU superstate posed a fresh threat to the European Union. And again, this is the same person who's buying stocks, selling stocks, sold 37% of his position, and now buying gold, and person who is, supports redistribution of wealth when he's saying speeches, giving speeches with his donations to Obama and Hillary, but then hides his money in Panama, with business and shelters. And obviously that all came up a couple months back with the Panama Papers scandal. But when it's all said and done, we know that central banks are the ones that are in power. And when it comes to Janet Yellen, when it comes to Mario Draghi, they will do whatever it takes to preserve the money, the fiat money system. And you know what? Yellen even confirmed that the Fed has legal basis to pursue negative rates. And of course, we know that negative rates are an impossibility. And I'll get to that in a minute here. But regarding the Brexit, just my thoughts. I feel like it will be a signal to the billions of people that live on this world that the system is fundamentally flawed and bursting at the seams. The fundamentals are being overwhelmed. The manipulation is being overwhelmed by fundamentals, and it will send a signal to people that things are not good. And when it comes to them exiting, I think that gold will respond very positively. I think gold will respond positively no matter what, because whether they stay in the European Union or not, whether it happens now as an acknowledgement, they get out, the acknowledgement that the system is crumbling will happen one way or another. And I'd like to see it happen now. Of course, this is a crisis story of the week. I don't necessarily believe that this is going to be what is the straw that breaks the camel's back, but it will be further like a step in the right direction, that the system is flawed and people will recognize it. Just like a week ago when the jobs numbers came out, worst in 6 years, and here we have unemployment going from 5% to 4.7%, but everyone having to acknowledge that the job market is bad. The Fed unable to raise rates. The Fed needing to act in the best interest of the stock market in the short term here, especially with Hillary Clinton on the verge of becoming president. If the market gets rocked hard here, Janet Yellen might have a hard time painting the picture that the Democrats have done a good job over the last few years here. So getting back to UK, I've been jumping around here. I think the Brexit vote, if it's a yes, will be positive for gold. We're seeing gold pull back. Last I checked, it was $1,270. It was at $1,300. You might consider buying some gold here. If we do see a yes vote, I think gold will respond positively as the fear trade commences. Now, if we do see a no, it's possible we see gold pull back a little bit, not a lot, because again, the fear is still prevailing in the system, and it will just be the next crisis that drives fear into gold. And it's, again, under $1,500, under $1,400. I mean, especially if we see a real problem with the fiat money system. These prices are just steals when it comes to being able to provide and retain stores of value, real stores of value, historical stores of value, real gold, real silver. It's not a bad time to look at it. Maybe buy some now, buy some next week after we see what happens with the Brexit vote. But Brexit vote it on, baby. I want to see it happen. I hope it happens. And to get this party started, I hope that we do see it happen. Oh, and on negative interest rates, I did mention that I would kind of close on that. Negative interest rates are an impossibility for the global economy. It's an impossibility because, and I stole this from Bill Holter. He explained this on a Greg Hunter video. He said that it's a discount. Bonds are discounted cash flows of the future. And basically, if you have a negative interest rate, you are saying that debt is worth more than cash. And that is an impossibility. And the only entities that can make decisions that are impossibilities are ones that don't have to suffer consequences, like central banks who print money out of thin air, who doesn't cost anything to produce an asset that they can receive a return on investment. And again, it's a problem. We're at the end of the system here. Own real assets, have a position in precious metals, and watch this thing come unhinged here. A lot of speculation what's going to happen in 2018. Of course, this is more speculation than facts here, but obviously the Economist magazine back in the 80s saying that 2018 we will see the end of the current fiat world reserve currency, the dollar, with the burning money in 2018. It's very, very concerning, especially with what we are seeing globally and how everything is just coming to a head here. Unprecedented times. Unprecedented times with what we're seeing in the election, unprecedented times with what we are seeing economically and globally. Be vigilant, everyone, and I will keep you posted. Look for our interviews to be released over the weekend, interviewing some very, very insightful guests here. One of my favorites will be on, and we will release that shortly. Take care, everyone.